you know what? We're not going to waste time. This is why people are here. We have to talk about it. Boom.
Battle of London. The Battle of South London.
Absolutely. Battle of South London. And again, I've pretty much said, look, everything. This is for everything. This is for all the marbles. This is like one of those winner takes it all, loser comes off. All those situations, all those scenarios where, where it's after this, forget about what you're doing. After this, I'm the guy. And I love this fight. Like, even now, as it's getting closer, I know what this fight's all about. I know how these guys are just, again, even in this picture here, it makes them look like friends. It does make them look like that was the old marketing. That was the one from before, like where I would say where it was wrong. This is where they got it wrong.
They got it so wrong before. Two friends putting their friendship aside. Bro, I don't want to hear that.
Now, though, you can't even, it's hard to see the friendship when you look at these two. It's hard to tell how, like, what's going on in this relationship. All you can see is two guys that are fighting for dominance. And I love the call. Someone called in on Monday and said it's talked about an identity crisis. And Spencer says the same line. He's talking about identity, like who he wants to be, the fighter that he wants to be. You've been saying for the longest, why is he trying to turn into, what's his name again? Why is he trying to change
Andre Ward?
Andre Ward. You've been saying for the longest time, and this has been your pushback. Every time we've argued, you always get to this point when you say to me, well, he's not trying to be like that anymore. This is not the version that you almost accused me of having the whole thing we do with AJ, even though AJ's returned back to suit and how he is now. But I believe that while he does want to be like Andre, he has Andre Ward tendencies in terms of wants to be that way. What happens in a fight is, as soon as he gets hit with shots that he doesn't like, he reverts to Buatsi. He reverts to, how dare you hit me? How dare you think you can lay hands on me like this? I'm a slugger, and that's why. This is
the thing, right? Because it all comes down to how locked in he is in his training camp and the new instructions. Because that last fight, there was some moments in there, not that he was ever in trouble, but you'd think, how comes you didn't go for him? You did well. You didn't even push forward. Like, we said the same thing about AJ. Like, Usyk weren't hurting him. The minute he hurts him, bro, we've seen when somebody's bought into a mindset, it's hard to just step out of it and go, I'm going back to what I'm doing. Because that starts with going back to the corner, and the corner saying, what are you doing? And then I'm saying, this ain't working, and I'm doing my thing. You're not listening. Round after round. I told you, get back on the jet. It's conflict now. That's what happens when that happens. So what I'm saying is, I'm not sold on Buatsi going back to just the dog. I'm thinking, no, he's trying to perfect this boxing thing. And right now, we're seeing this weird case study with British fighters where these men are trying to reinvent themselves and their fighting style. Okoli tried to do some different stuff. We've seen it with Buatsi. We've seen it with AJ. We've seen the look. And weirdly, 258 is the common denominator for, all of them. They was all 258 at one point.
Yeah.
Now, we're looking at AJ seems to be the one that's figured it out. Okoli is going back and forth. Every once in a while it's good, but then it goes back to this weird kind of the clinching stuff. Hopefully he gets that right. Buatsi right now is in that phase of the change. We ain't seen the change back yet. So I don't know. I've always felt like that relationship between him and Virgil Hunter was going to leave gaps, because that's not a style that suits you. Do you see what I'm saying? You put like a Buatsi with an explosive fighter like Buatsi, put him with an explosive trainer like Adam Booth. Because you've seen what Adam Booth does. Adam Booth has a style. He has his style that he created with David Haye. He's tried to push that style to Josh Kelly. It's not working for Josh Kelly because he don't punch like David Haye. But let's say that Buatsi had a trainer that leaned into the explosive energy. You'd have a dog on your hands. You'd have a real problem, fam. Whereas I look at someone that's overthinks things to the point where now he's trying to do these weird stuff, and it's just that you're rebranding, fam.
Well, no, because if you go back, what's so crazy is the reason why, because I've got Buatsi in my head. I've got Buatsi winning this fight by like a knockout, really. in the seventh round, 6th or 7th round. I think he's just gonna try and take him into deep waters. But then when I go back and look at Buatsi's fight history, or just how busy he's been, it's really shocking. You think about his last fight, what, 2023, and that's against Stepien, yeah. And then after he got the one, then you have to go back a year again, and like then you got the Craig Richards fight. So then it's like, bro, once a year for a non-champion is
ridiculous,
crazy for someone that's only had 18 bouts in his, like, it's mad. You know, it's so funny because I see the Buatsi frustration. I see it. It's visible on his face. You know what? I'm pissed off. But then it's hard because while he feels this way and he's angry and he's like, how do people even think that me and you are levels and this, that, and the other? Like, I feel like he hasn't taken on there's got to be a bit of accountability for Buatsi that we haven't seen yet, in terms of, well, you've got yourself here in a way. I don't know what decisions have happened, but for some, you fight once a year, and like for someone like Travis is struggling to define what you are or what is your style, because we've seen you try to change it up, and there's no proof to say otherwise. There's no proof to say, hey, you know what, I am this, you're lying, you're seeing this wrong. Well, we haven't seen you fight enough to make that assessment. I'm going on what I know is the DNA of Buatsi, of how I've seen him move or how I've seen him react in certain fights. Even in the Craig Richards one, when he was trying to, those moments when he said, nah, F this, game plan out the window. And he gets the game plan out the window when it gets sticky, when someone tries to put it on him. Well, guess what? Dan Azeez is that fighter that wants to put it on him. The one thing that Dan Azeez has over Buatsi in this, to show Dan Aziz's side, is he's been active. He has been the active fighter, and he's progressed quickly. Now, is there a mental block for Buatsi? It will be a question that people can say, well, what's going on in his life that's his record? What's going on? What's the things that he can't tell us that he wants to say that are, you know, he says no one cares if I talk or not, like no one cares what I have to say. What's those things? Because right now we need to understand the world that they're coming from, because all we can see is frustration and like,
yes, there's a jaded energy. Yeah, you're right. You're 100%.
All we can see is frustration, and where's that coming from? And are we not right to feel the way about you, considering when we do look at your career and say, well, everyone else has had their challenge now. Everyone else has tested greatness, and you're still amongst everyone. You're still amongst these men when you went to the Olympics. You was the prospect.
That's real. That's very real. And it's one of those things where it's like, because of the inactivity, a lot of it's starting to look bad because guys of your class have gone on to be world champs already. Do you know what I mean? Now, I understand there's been some injuries and various little hurdles along the way, but there's also little moments where it's like, Base mentioned this before, it's like the Vlasov fight didn't happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I think there was like some kind of issues with that fight in the first place, and then it just disappeared. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's times where he's looked very, even
was
like
that
the challenge
bids thing though. When purse bids on when they gonna have him on BT or something silly, like, or some.
I can't remember the story now, but all I do is remember thinking, well, how comes that fight didn't come back on? You just went straight to someone else.
Yeah.
Then you had the challenge fight with the eye was going crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's times where you look at him and think, I've always felt like, whilst I think he's sick, there's a gaping gap in his attributes defensively, and it seems as if there's an issue like with the stamina that's available. Do you know what I mean? When he fights at that pace, when he fought in the Garden, there was a lot of low blows that he was throwing against my man to try and buy some time. Do you know what I mean? I was looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, listen, that's how I've read what's been playing off in the ring. So I look at Buatsi, right?
This one when he was hitting the low blows.
Bolotniks, there was bare low blows.
Yeah, he was the point in it.
There was bare low blows. I can't remember exactly about
the point. The point. Yes,
okay, yeah. Kept on throwing them. And it's mad because there's no track record of low blows like that. So that's how I know that you was doing a little move. Dark arts, I'm not against it. It is what it is. If that was my fighter in there, I'd be telling him to do the same thing. But what I would say about Buatsi, right? Because obviously people think I'm always shooting at Buatsi. I back Yard. I believe in Yard. Do you know what I mean? I believe if they fight, I believe he wins. But to speak to what Buatsi does well in there, when he is going to war bruv, it takes some man to get out of the round with him. The guy's a problem. The guy is a big puncher. He throws with volume. I don't know for sure that he's a single punch KO guy, but it doesn't matter because he doesn't throw single shots. They're rah, 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 rah. And he's got the venom. Yeah, he's got the venom that you can't teach.
Yes.
It's there. He hates you in that moment. Yeah. And that's why the brand, he has all the tools to take his brand and his name and his career to the next level, but something is blocking it. And that's, I think, the frustration comes. Obviously, I backyard because them men are like rivals of how their careers have gone. But I don't dislike the guy. I like the guy. He's got Christian values. He's a good guy. He's out there in a positive space. What's not to like? Of course, I'll back this brother. But my frustration is with watching how he maneuvers in his career. That guy that phoned in, Marks, when he mentioned there's a bit of an entitlement with how he processes stuff. And you can see that with the fact is like, you haven't moved forward.
You haven't.
You still have to do that bit. Once you're there, you're the guy. Once you're there, you can be the guy. But you can't negate all these things.
I think the mistake that he's made is the radio silence. And it's not worked. It's even AJ realized before Eddie Hearn was the mouthpiece for AJ. And that means we still heard the Eddie Hearn. We still always heard the AJ message. That's the funniest part. So you'll get an update when even Eddie used to kind of do it for Buatsi as well. Say he's a killer. He's just quiet, like he's that guy, such a lovely guy. You know when Eddie Hearn's waxing lyrical about this guy?
Yeah.
No one talking. You've gone to Boxer, them man are not gonna like. You're gonna have to remind my man to talk about you. You're gonna have to say, "Hey, mention me." But even them, they're trying to make a decision because they're giving you and they got Azeez they're giving Dan Azeez the bag as well, and they're like, "Well, who's the main one?" For him to really set himself apart, he has to come out and talk. He has to come out and talk. And I'm not just saying begging it for our platform. I love him to come on his platform, but he has to get everywhere. Get everywhere and let everyone see your personality because there's been a disconnection point. But I'm saying right now it's past that time because what does a loss do to each fighter? I don't think a loss hurts.
A loss for Dan, yeah, doesn't hurt. Because
I mean, in the public eye, I'm talking about the public eye.
In the public eye, it doesn't hurt him. We're rooting for the guy that's taken he's done everything that you want a fighter to do. The traditional route. There's a lot of stock in that, and he's getting to the place where he shouldn't have been. He wasn't supposed to be here. He's on a completely different perspective. Buatsi, right now, if he loses this fight,
for the public, this is me talking about the public now.
It's very bad. It's very bad because now they're saying he's not serious. They'll say the whole time it was hype. They'll just, you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean? I mean, he has one of the best wins on his CV in regards to the light heavies with Craig Richards on there.
Yeah.
But it's one of the things where the expectation was a lot higher
than Craig as the only name. We're talking about a title holder. Like that's someone. What we expected is we think, you know what, future title holder. And don't get twisted. That's still in the works. But do you reckon we both know that the loss for them, if anyone loses, just because I don't trust Boxer as an organization, I think that's devastating for either side. But
it's I think the semi-finals. It's the semi-finals for them, man.
Yeah,
winner stays on. Loser, forget what we said.
Super long rebuild. Listen, man. What's final predictions? I'm saying 7th, 6th, 7th. Knockout. Keep referee stops it. Referee says enough. I've seen enough.
I think people are sleeping on the possibility of a Dan Azeez KO as well. And if that is to happen, it's 11 and 12, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Where I don't trust Buatsi's stamina.
Yeah.
And I know Dan Azeez is a tough guy. I don't think he's going to knock out Dan. Do you know what I'm saying? I think Dan's going to go to work on my man. And over time, every round, just gather a bit more, hurt him a little more. So it's going to be an interesting one because especially with Buatsi, he looks at Dan like, I had using my sparring as to beat you up. I don't understand why you think you're talking to me like that. You see the arrogance? That arrogance can oh my God.
It's nasty.
That arrogance can get you the hell out of here because everything Dan does, in his mind, what? Me? That's what you think you're, bro. This guy's here now. You don't buy in and accept he's here now and treat him accordingly. Dan Azeez gets the win. And that arrogance, I've seen arrogant people they're easy to dislodge on the mental side. Easy.
It'll be interesting.
Just before we wrap this segment, I realize I don't speak about this enough, man. I'm going on tour this year, bro. I'm going on tour, fam. Yeah, you know I mean, debut tour, travesty tour, 2024. Great defeaters, man. I'm saying this now. The reason why I'm saying this, the tickets are really moving. I got the sales report this week. The tickets are really going. This might not be one of those ones where the week of the show, and I'm like, yeah, guys, bro, guys, get that show. I know a lot of you guys are in London. That one is really going. So cop your tickets. And I know some of the rest of you guys are scattered around the place. I'm pulling up somewhere this year. So get your tickets. Go to my website, travisj.co.uk, and get your tickets, man.